Hello guys, it's Pedro. I hope you're doing well. And in today's video, I'd like to talk about something that is a little bit weird, a little bit mathematical, but very practical in our lives. So what I'm talking about here is the propagation of error when it comes to choosing wrong paths that will give you different results in your VFX career. So basically when you compromise at some point with your choices, right? So like a mathematical equation, there will be times in which you basically round some of the numbers, right? So for example, 1.67, you can round it up to 1.7, or you can round it down to 1.6, right? And whatever you do with those numbers after, like if you have like multiple operations after that, the compromise that you've established with the decision that you took by rounding up or down the number, it will get you to a completely different end result depending on the number of operations that you have after the initial number that you round either up or down, right? So the same happens in your career, and most people are not aware of this kind of stuff, right? Most people compromise in many different ways. Some ways because they don't have a choice. Most likely they do have a choice, but there are also situations in which they don't. But what I'm trying to tell you here is, independently of whether or not you have a choice, the consequences of those decisions will either push you to the right or to the left, as if like you are, you find yourself on a crossroads, and whether you decide to go left or right, they will have completely different destinations, and probably they will not meet at any point, right? And a lot of times what happens is, for multiple factors, as I said before, people turn right when they should have turned left for what they want to achieve. And because they didn't have the awareness of the knowledge or the help to know better, they basically keep doing that kind of stuff, and life will push them to a completely different destination if only they knew the right path to take, right? So that's what I'm talking about with propagation of error. So there's an error in the beginning that has like consequences, in multiple steps after that kind of stuff, right? So basically what I'm talking about is sort of like a domino effect of mistakes that can lead to frustration and demotivation, because what you're trying to do and achieve never comes, and it will never come because the path in which you find yourself in is no longer the winning path for your goal, right? It can give you other things, but probably not what you want, not you wanted to achieve, necessarily speaking, because you've made a mistake at some point on what you chose on a given crossroads that you found yourself in at the given time. And what happened after that is completely distinct realities, you know what I mean? And the more you do that, the more you're going to be potentially pushed out of that goal. It's very rare that sometimes these two things meet. It can happen, but it's very rare, right? And there are moments in life in which this is so important that it's fundamental to have the awareness that this is sort of like a one-door decision. If you open that door to the right, most likely what you're going to encounter there, it's not going to be what you could have encountered perhaps if you would go on the other side, right? And you cannot go back. It all depends on what we're talking about, but there are moments in life that is sort of like that. So choosing, the wrong path in your career development can delay or even derail your professional success, and there's many examples of that, and maybe you find yourself in this situation. You don't know whether or not that's the case, but it can be the case, right? So the lack of awareness about the consequences of certain choices can basically keep this negative pattern, happening over and over and over again, because you don't even know, or you don't even understand that this is actually happening, right? So the consequences of this is, what I just mentioned before. It's like, each wrong decision will have a compound effect that will lead to a significant deviation, as I said before, from the desired path, okay? So you chose right, you encounter something. If you could have chosen left or if you knew that you should have chosen left, maybe even if it was more hard to choose left, maybe the end result will be actually the one that you wanted as opposed to this other one, right? So, keep making incorrect choices like this can result in a lot of, missed opportunities and setbacks, and that will have like an impact on the emotional side, of course, then on the money side perhaps as well, And the accumulation of these errors can create a sense of, you feel stuck or unable to get to your desired, goal, because, the path to get there is not the one that you find yourself in because you made a mistake at some point in the past. You know what I mean? So frustration is probably, the feeling that probably is more prominent when a situation like this occurs. But people are only aware of that something probably wrong when they are too deep into the road that they should not be in. So most people lack the awareness of, what was the moment in which this took this turn? Like, what was the origin that led me to find myself in this position right now, right? And it's not easy to understand that, right? But in any case, that's what leads to frustration amongst many people that find themselves in this situation, which is also some of the people that we help. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody that we help have this. They have like different things that they want to solve in their lives, but they have one thing in common, which is they want to solve a problem. They find themselves not being able to solve the problem. They tried many times, but whatever they tried, they seem not to find the answers, or they want to find the answers quicker, or they want to avoid turning left when they could have turned right, or vice versa. And so that's why they seek the help, right? And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Pedro, and I'm the founder of Gameplanner. And what we do is we help very experienced professionals with a compositing background attain and sustain leadership roles. And we do that super effectively, and you can take a look at our description below, and you can look for yourself the type of results and feedback that people that work with us have to say about the work that we do together. But, put that aside, I want to also help you guys independently of whether or not you'd like to have this help with us. So first thing to do to solve this problem is to develop this self-awareness by reflecting on your past experiences, because you cannot go back in time. So the only thing that you can do is to look back and try to reflect what was the time in which probably this happened, right? And learn from those mistakes to see if you can have like a chance of basically try to find the place that will take you to the other side if you find yourself in the wrong side, right? It might not be easy. And again, if you need the help, seek the help, whatever help you think you need to have, but it might be possible. But the most fundamental thing to solve the problem is, if you are aware that you've been trying to solve those problems for a while, and if you know and you feel that the results don't come, well, you probably are in the middle of this domino effect that I just mentioned before, that started somewhere in the past. So you need to seek guidance to basically inform you that this is happening. It doesn't really matter what happened in the past because you can change it, but there's ways to, work around this problem effectively if you seek the help. If you don't seek the help, it's very difficult because you've been trying to solve the problem for so long, right? And the results don't come. So, there's, a very small percentage of chance that's probably going to be successful on finding yourself in the winning side of things, right? So support is super, super important, I would say, right? So, you need to practice this critical thinking. It can be painful at times. It can be, challenging in many different ways. You might have like a lot of difficulty. I know a lot of people that have a lot of difficulty thinking that maybe it was me who took like a wrong decision at this time or at that time, or I compromised on this or on that, and then the propagation of error, this is where they find themselves in, and it can be very difficult, and it's frustrating to get themselves out of that situation. So critical thinking and really taking a look at your past is really fundamental to learn with it, not to change it because you can change it, but to learn with it and to inform you, like to give you feedback for next time comes. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna make the same mistakes. I'm gonna seek the support. I'm gonna not compromise on this or not compromise on that. It all depends on what we're talking about, right? I'm talking about generically, but you can boil it down to something very specific that happened in your life, I'm pretty sure, right? You only have to really think deep and practice this basically self-awareness, right? So as I was saying, self-awareness and seeking mentorship, seeking help is basically what's gonna inform you, in the best way possible to get yourself out of that situation and to find the success that you've been working so hard for. I mean, the most successful people that you can think of, which is normally something that I talk a lot in this channel, but if you study them, you read about them, this is exactly what they do. You know what I mean? They know that, whatever thing, because life is hard, right? Especially when it comes to, business and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's like another pressure. So people don't win these battles by themselves alone. You know what I mean? They don't need a lot of people. That's not what I'm saying. But they need one or two people at least that will help them, basically from an unbiased position, look at the situation and maybe offer advice that will, save them like a lot of trouble within like the process of solving the issue. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times what happens, and this also happens with individuals, some of the individuals that we help, for example, which are very experienced, but most people, what they do is they see what sticks. They try this, they try that, see what sticks. If it doesn't stick, I'll try something different. And if it doesn't stick, I'll keep doing it until there comes a point in which none of this is enough anymore. So they lost the passion, they are frustrated, they are lost, and they are already thinking on alternative plans that basically is potentially a different career, when it doesn't need to be like that. And that's the reality of the situation. And if you do this, there will always be other moments in your new career, if you end up like, choosing that kind of decision, in which you'll face the same. So you cannot live like this, you know what I mean? So you need to seek like this support and to create this awareness within you that, there's a decision. Some of these decisions are one-door decisions. There's no turning back. And whatever happens as a consequence of that decision, it has like a different destination if you open door A as opposed to door B, if you choose left as opposed to choose right. So very important to, first of all, be aware that some of the decisions are one-door decisions, and also to be able, which is very difficult, to be at peace with that decision, independent of the consequences, because there will be always consequences. Can be bad ones, can also be good ones, right? But if it's bad ones, it's hard to be at peace, but you need to be at peace as well with it. And if you don't want to repeat the same mistakes, seek the help. Don't make the same mistake again. That's basically what I'm saying, right? So that's why it's so important, that you cultivate this self-development that has an impact on your personal life, but also on the professional life, right? So it's this like proactive kind of vision that I think you will benefit on having, as opposed to just reacting to the situation. Because if you're constantly reacting, we definitely have way more than reacting behavior as opposed to proactive behavior when it comes to visual effects, as you all know. But that's not the path to solve the problems. And you don't even need to take my word for it. Just look at every project that you worked on, or most of them that you've been working on when it comes to your career in visual effects, and you'll see that this to be true for sure, right? So this is the type of stuff that I would like to talk to you, as I said before, and this propagation of error is a real thing, and if you're having trouble understanding this concept, just, think on maths, okay? And you have like, I don't know, 10 operations that are always dependent on each other, and if you compromise something in the beginning, you'll see that the end result is going to be dramatically different. And the more operation that happens in between, the more likely that compromise that you did in the beginning will have an influence on the end result, okay? The same happens with your career, the same happens with your life, okay? But most likely with your career, we've seen, and I've seen personally, like a lot of people, finding themselves in this situation because of the compromise of certain moments in their career in which they chose one path, and the consequences of it are completely different from the other path that could have taken. It can be good or bad, but most likely they won't meet in the future. You know what I mean? So very important to have this concept in mind. And if you need help with this kind of stuff in your career, if you have a compositing background, all you have to do is click on the link on the description below. The first link will basically give you a roadmap to attain and sustain leadership roles. And if you resonate with it, just book a call with us, and you'll have a conversation with a member of my team, and we'll see whether or not we can help you. And if we think we can help you, we'll let you know how. And if we think that we're not the right partners for each other, we'll let you know as well. So nothing wrong and nothing bad happens, quite the opposite, by you booking the call. I'll leave that up to you, of course, but I wanted to give you this, mental model anyway, for you to potentially make better decisions in your future for a better outcome for you as well. So I hope you liked it, and see you very soon. Okay, bye-bye.